If you think you know the story of Dracula, just think again because you have never seen it like this before. Caleb Landry Jones, Zoe Blue are here to talk about this movie. Caleb, I mean, what was it like joining this movie and being Dracula himself?
It was daunting. I was, I want to use language I can't use, but I was very scared, very nervous, and it stayed that way through most of the filming, because there was so much to do, and so many moments to get right, and because of all of the Draculas before, it's yeah.
And here it is. We're
I was
seeing
very
this
scared.
on the big screen. No, that's a great answer. Zoe, I mean, what a breakthrough role for you as well to just be in this universe. Talk about getting cast in this role and going on this journey.
Um, I mean, it really felt like I was in a dream within a dream within a dream. Like my
You were a
mind.
princess.
I got to be a princess. I mean, as a little girl, I loved all the princess stories, and I got to have my own princess story in a really very me way, actually. And I just feel really blessed and honored to be a part of this particular Dracula film because it's a love story. And I'm not so much a monster movie girl. I'm gonna be real, but I love a love story, and this is a very special one, I'd say.
That's definitely what makes this one so special, apart from all the rest, because it is not horror. But I will say, this special effects and the makeup of making Caleb Dracula. Talk to us about that process of how long you were sitting in that makeup chair and doing that each day.
Not that long, and Luc is so wonderful in that he really got it down to this many days that we need, and they'll be separated like this, and yata ta ta ta. And for me as an actor, got to do the stuff that was very heavy makeup and kind of a succession. So got to live that out, just as we shot the beginning of the movie in the beginning, so that when I lose the princess, I've lost the princess, and I get older and older. But
Yeah, it was shot chronologically.
yeah, for
so-
the most part,
For the most part.
which made it great for us, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we're very lucky, I think.
But Jean-Christophe and Denis and the team was so amazing, and they were able to get it down to like 4 hours, I think, by the end, by the last few days. And when you hear stories about RoboCop or Frankenstein or other movies, I had it so lucky. You know,
I mean,
it
you
was-
said 4 hours, you say not that long, and then you say, oh, just 4 hours in the makeup chair. I mean, but that's still a
yeah,
long
but-
time.
But buddy, some folks are doing 10, 12,
Yeah, I think Jacob
14.
Elordi had like 11 or something.
Yeah, and RoboCop was even more, and you know, and
Really?
that's Dallas, Texas, in the summer. So I had it, I had it very cushiony, in a lot of ways.
And Christoph Waltz, I mean, two-time Oscar winner on set with you both. Zoe, what was that like having his kind of guidance and being in the movie with him? He's so phenomenal.
You got to work with him more than I did.
I know he's a world class man. That is an exquisite man. I really like. He is an incredible actor. I was very nervous to meet him because I've admired his work. I think we both were. We were both like, oh my god. He was such a gentleman and has such a beautiful presence, and I was I have to say I was a little nervous, especially when he was like this close to me in my first scene. I was just like, oh god, okay, we're doing this, but he made me feel really safe and was just
Very witty sense of humor.
yeah, he does. He has a very witty sense of humor. It was
The
a
Dracula
treat.
adaptation that people need to see on the big screen in theaters February 6th. Caleb, Zoe, thank you so much for your time. Luc Besson is bringing a new version of Dracula to the screen. I mean, talk to us about going through the process and making this more of a romance versus the Gothic horror that everyone knows Dracula for.
Because everyone, I've seen this one, so I want to do another thing. But I read the book again, and something strike me. I read it like 20 years ago, but something strike me is a man able to wait 400 years just because he wants to see his wife again, and it's so romantic. And I think that's what I need, and I think it's what everybody needs. A little revival about this romanticism. So that was the really the core of the movie, and that's what we want to do. So we're using Dracula, the blood, the teeth, all this, just to have fun. But the main course is really a love story.
It really is that love story, and at the center of that love story is Caleb Landry Jones, who you previously worked together, and you just had to have him back. Talk about casting him as your Dracula.
It's not casting with him. Is a genius. Is for me the actor of the decade, and is a lovely person, very, very generous. And to work with him is just like it's just like pleasure. So there's no way I'm gonna let him out.
He's going to be stuck with you for the decades. I mean, but Dracula is such an iconic role for him to play. I mean, how did you know that he is going to be that guy when you're doing Dracula? Did you have the movie in mind first? Did you have him in mind first to work with him?
No, in fact, we were on Dogman, the movie that we did together, and we were waiting on the set, and we start talking about like, okay, what are we gonna do next? So we dropped some names like Mao Zedong, Charles de Gaulle, Napoleon, like all the big figure, because I think Caleb is a Ferrari. You can't just drive in town. You need to have something powerful. And then Dracula comes on the conversation. I read it again and he's going to play like 26 years old, 80, 200, 400 years old, 27 different costume outfit, 4 century between the beginning and the end. So it's made for him. It's exactly the kind of role where he can explode. So it was kind of obvious.
And I just talked with him. He said he was so thankful that you were able to get it down to about 4 hours in the makeup chair when he's playing the 400-year-old version. It's not a full day in the makeup chair. It's not 12 hours. How did you get down to that? What was your process like to make sure everything is executed perfectly?
The guys, the French guy who works on the makeup are really excellent. I work with them since 20 years. It was a little bit more than 4 hours. It was like more five. The funny thing is, Caleb arrived at like 3:30 or 4 a.m. And when I arrive at 6 or 7 a.m., I come to see him and he's sleeping in the chair like this. And the guy put all the makeup, he's sleeping, you know? And that was very funny.
I mean, sleep, even people 400 years old need to have their sleep. And I mean, this is just reviving this great genre, the monster movie, but in a different way, like Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. But people are going to remember this version of Dracula as well. What is it like to just be in that same conversation of these monster movies?
Uh, you have not to think too much about it. You have to do your thing. A piece of art is personal. It's always you. You take some painters like Dali, Picasso, Modigliani. All these guys paint a woman. None of them paintings are the same. So it's the thing. I think the diversity make the richness. Coppola did one was great, and before you have like an old-fashioned Nosferatu in black and white, like and it's nice too. It's just like we are we are lucky to have all these versions. In fact, we're not
We
in.
really
I don't think none of them are in competition to each other. It's just a proposition. It's like food. You do a cheeseburger. No one will do the same. You want one brand and not the other one. And
Here we go. Dracula in theaters February 6th. Luke, thank you so much for your time.
thank you so much, sir.
Christoph Waltz, two-time Academy Award winner, Django Unchained, and Glorious Bastards, just iconic roles. Now in Dracula, this new version. I mean, talk about joining this movie in such a new way.
Why is that way new? I work as an actor. That's an old thing. I've been doing it for 50 years now. Um, uh, that 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 in itself is no reason for anything, not even for celebration. But no, look, Luc wanted Luc wanted to work with me, and I wanted to work with him, and here was the part where we met finally, and eh, you know, an unusual approach to a story that we all know. And I loved his approach, and I loved the specific perspective on it. And I befriended Caleb. I befriended Zoe. I love Luc, and I love working with him. So why not?
And here it is. I mean, you're playing the priest in this kind of, some people might look at him as a villain, but he's really not a villain when he's just trying to do things his way. He's trying to make sure people are like, oh, Dracula, he's the villain. But there are so many different perspectives you can look at. How do you internalize your own character in this?
Well, I internalize them to a degree, because if I internalize them all the way, I'd be certified schizo. No, I'm just an actor, you know. Villain, not in the least, rather the opposite. And these categories are very limiting. They're not limited because, you know, whatever you do with it gives you the freedom you take. But to categorize characters that simplistically is a pity, because you restrict your experience if you're not willing to find out anymore. If you cut your curiosity short from the very beginning, why bother going? You know, you go because you want to find out. And if you, this is, you know, unfortunately, we live in a time where that happens across the board. And that's why I consider our times limited, you know, or our world right now limited and limiting to everyone who buys into this nonsense. And open your eyes, open your ears, and then you'll find out. And then, you know, check whether it agrees with you or not. Fine, that's a different story.
Great perspective that you have on that. And you were in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, now also in Dracula from Luc Besson. I mean, what a great two movies to be part of, just these monster movies. I mean, what did you take from that one to then separate from this one? How, I mean, obviously they're very different movies.
Yes, exactly. That, I mean, but along the same lines, really, as mentioned before. If I categorize so strictly and so narrowly, then I have no, you know, then what difference would it make to me whether it's Frankenstein or Dracula? No. You know. Give yourself, well, actually, give yourself a break and check it out.
You certainly will. They'll need to see Dracula on the big screen February 6th. Christoph, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.